You're just his Livian girlfriend? She sneered over the phone. Start packing, I'm moving in. My husband begged me to ignore her, swearing he'd chosen me. I stayed quiet, I planned. And today, as they both stare at the foreclosure notice on my house, their shock is priceless. It's funny how your entire world can be going perfectly right up until the second it isn't. 10 minutes ago, I was living the life I'd always wanted. Our 10-month-old son was finally down for his nap. The house was quiet, and I was sitting on the couch folding a mountain of tiny socks, feeling that specific kind of tired, buffy satisfaction that only new moms know. I remember thinking how lucky I was. My husband, Mark, is a great provider. He works hard, he's an amazing, handsome dad, and he's always been so good to me. We have this comfortable life he built for us. Then my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. The first message just said, "You need to know who you're living with." I almost deleted it, figuring it was spam or a wrong number, but then another one came through, and another. They were screenshots of conversations, but I didn't even look at them at first. The final text is what made my blood run cold. It read, "I've always been his home. You're just a guest. You need to start looking for a job and a new place to live, because Mark is just waiting for you to leave so I can move in. He told me he's done with you." My brain just short-circuited. I couldn't process the words. Who is this? How do they have my number? My first thought was that this had to be some cruel, elaborate prank, but then I scrolled up to the screenshots. They were between Mark and a woman I recognized from his old photos. His ex, Sarah, the one he was with for 5 years before me. The dates on the messages started around the time our son was 4 months old. They talked about meeting up at their spot. They talked about their future. In one message, she asked when he was going to break up with his Livian girlfriend. Girlfriend, not wife. The key turned in the lock an hour later. Mark walked in, smiling, dropping his work bag by the door. "Hey babe, how was your day? How's the little man?" I couldn't speak. I just turned my phone around and showed him the screen. I watched his face go from a warm smile to pale, slack-jawed horror. He didn't even have to say anything. The look in his eyes told me everything was true. He tried to explain. Of course, his story is that he ended things with her last week and blocked her. And this is just her lashing out because she's angry. "She's trying to hurt you because I chose you. I chose our family," he kept saying, his voice cracking. "None of what she said is true. About you being lazy or not needing to leave. I swear," but I could barely hear him. It was all just white noise. The only words echoing in my head were hers. "I've always been his home." He let her believe that. For 6 months, while I was recovering from childbirth and learning how to be a mother, he was letting another woman believe she had a claim to my husband and my home. The deception is just staggering. I feel like I'm in a movie, not my own life. Right now, I'm just emotionally checked out. It's the only way I can function. I know this is a total doozy, but I'm just so blindsided. Has anyone ever been in a situation like this? How do you even begin to process a betrayal this complete? It's been a few days since the text, and I'm living with a ghost. Or maybe I'm the ghost. I'm moving through the rooms of my own house, doing all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm making bottles. I'm doing laundry. I'm kissing our son goodnight. But it feels like my body is on autopilot while my mind is floating somewhere above, watching a movie of someone else's life. Mark is here, too, but he's not the man I married. He's this new version, quieter, more watchful, and overwhelmingly attentive. This morning, he made my coffee before I even came downstairs, with the exact amount of cream I like. He's never done that before. He stood there, watching me take a sip, like he was waiting for a verdict. "Is it okay?" he asked. I just nodded. My brain tried to process the gesture. A week ago, it would have been a sweet surprise. Now, it feels like a transaction, an act of service meant to erase an act of betrayal. This is my new reality, questioning the motive behind every single thing he does. Is he doing this because he's truly sorry for what he did, or is he just sorry he got caught? The worst part is seeing him with our son. Last night, the baby was fussy, and Mark picked him up and walked him around the living room, humming a little tune until he settled. He looked at our son with this pure, undeniable love on his face. My heart just broke in two. In that moment, he was the man I fell in love with, the great father, the dependable partner. But then my mind flashes to an image of him typing on his phone, sending messages to her while I was in the other room, probably exhausted from being up with this very same baby. How can those two men be the same person? I find myself replaying the last 6 months, searching for the signs I must have missed, the nights he worked late, the time he was weirdly protective of his phone, saying he had to keep it on him for work emails. Each memory is now tainted, rewritten by this new information. I feel like a fool, a naive, trusting fool who was so wrapped up in our new baby that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. And through it all, her words just echo in my head. I've always been his home. That's what cuts the deepest. This wasn't just a physical mistake. He let her believe she had a future here. He let her believe that my role, my marriage, my life, was temporary. He built her a fantasy world right on top of the foundation of our family. So now we're just coexisting. We talk about the baby, about what we need from the grocery store. But the silence in between those conversations is deafening. I feel like I'm holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. For someone who has always been so sure of my life and my choices, this feeling of doubt is eating me alive. For those of you who have been through this, how did you survive this stage? How do you live alongside someone when you can no longer trust the ground you're standing on? Do I start digging for more answers and risk what I might find? Or do I try to live with this uncertainty? I just don't know how to move forward from here. The fog I've been living in for the past week finally lifted this morning. It wasn't a dramatic moment. I was just standing at the kitchen sink, watching Mark in the backyard playing with our son. He was lifting him up to touch the leaves on a tree, and our baby was shrieking with laughter. The scene was perfect, like something from a commercial, and for the first time, I didn't feel a pang of sadness or confusion. I felt a cold, hard clarity. This limbo we're in, this polite, painful fiction where we pretend to be a family during the day and sleep on opposite sides of the bed at night, is completely unsustainable. I realized the problem wasn't just that he cheated, it was the depth of the disrespect. He didn't just have an affair, he curated an entirely separate reality for his ex. He allowed her to believe that I was a temporary obstacle and that my home, the home I brought our son into, was her eventual destination. The audacity of it is what finally burned through the numbness. He didn't just betray me, he erased me from his narrative to her. That night, after we put the baby down, I didn't retreat to my side of the bed. I stood in the living room and waited for him. When he walked in, he saw the look on my face and his forced smile faltered. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was steady, way steadier than I felt. "Not like the other day, with you panicking and me in shock. I need you to tell me everything, the real story." He started with the same script. "I told you, babe, it's over." I ended it. "I chose you." "Stop," I said, holding up a hand. It was trembling slightly, but I held it firm. "That's your damage control summary. I need the truth." "Why her? When did it start? What exactly did you tell her about me and our son? And what was your plan? What was the end game here?" "Mark," I took a breath. "Don't try to protect my feelings. The time for that is so far gone it's laughable. I just need the facts." He stared at me for a long moment, and I watched the defensiveness drain out of him, replaced by a look of sheer exhaustion. He finally sank onto the couch and put his head in his hands. He didn't cry, he just looked broken. He started talking, and this time, the story was different, more detailed, uglier, and far more painful. And now, here I am, I have something closer to the truth, and I'm standing at a fork in the road. Path A is leaving. It'd have to start completely over, find a job, a place to live, and navigate life as a single mom. The thought is terrifying. I would be giving up the comfort and stability he provides, not just for me, but for our son. Path B is staying. It means trying to see if the man I saw playing with our son in the backyard this morning can ever truly overpower the liar who lived a double life for 6 months. It would mean fighting every single day to rebuild a trust that he didn't just break, he pulverized. I don't even know if I have that kind of forgiveness in me. So this is my question for you. Reddit. He's a great father and a phenomenal provider, but he's also a man who is capable of this massive, calculated deception. Can those two people ever truly be reconciled? Or am I a fool for even considering giving the liar a second chance? What would you do?